The most nerve-wracking moment for any cat owner is when their cat ventures through the cat flap and out into the big wide world for the very first time.
So just imagine how nervous the keepers are as these two beautiful, rare and endangered cheetah cubs head out into the safari park.
In a very short time, they could be encountering several thousand cars over a weekend. So it's absolutely vital they instinctively know what to do to stay out of trouble.
But no one knows quite how these bundles of hair, teeth and claws are going to react.
Clever girl.
Coming up on today's show, more stories from right across the animal kingdom.
Including a medical emergency, when keepers find a bat with an unexplained injury.
Finding something that isn't then fixable might actually mean a different ending for tomorrow for him.
Hold your line.
The whole park pulled together to try and catch one of the world's greatest long-distance runners.
We've got one wolf in the paddock, and then we've got one just running around. One's broken through the line behind us.
Come on in, pop on the scale there.
And after a jam-packed series of animal antics,
Oh, who's that?
Jean has mastered the art of animal keeping.
They are going mad for this food. They're loving it.
Coming up with great enrichment ideas for the park's biggest carnivores requires patience, creativity and positivity. And today, the tiger keepers are hoping that they will get that all-important balance just right.
If you go down to the woods today, you're sure of a big surprise.
That's amazing.
Keepers John and Hannah have dreamed up a giant cat toy for the tigers
That's the ticket.
and have roped in the other keepers to help them build it.
One down, 3 to go.
With fire hoses donated by a local fire brigade
It's actually looking a lot better than I even thought it would do.
and a recycled wooden pallet. It is, of course, a tiger-sized wobble board.
The idea of the wobble board is it will really utilise all their balance skills. And when they're chasing prey, they'll always have to be twisting and turning, leaping out of trees potentially in the case of tigers. So this is a really good test of their abilities and really gets them honing those skills.
To entice them onto the board, the team are suspending a rope ball right above it. And while they might seem crazy, this type of invention is actually something of a tradition here at the park.
Yeah, about there.
In 2005, the team tried a similar idea, this time adding a ball, but the lions managed to destroy it. So the 2006 model was somewhat sturdier. The reason behind building contraptions like this one is all in the name of what keepers call enrichment. It's about finding different ways to challenge the animals, getting them to stretch their mental muscles, as well as keeping them physically active. Which is exactly what the class of 2017 are attempting today with their latest invention.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, this is always a favourite part of the job, building practical enrichment items for the animals. You can't beat it. When we let the animals back out and hopefully they enjoy it, really get a buzz out of it, it gives us a buzz as well.
With the wobble board finished, there's only one thing for it.
Amy, you can let the tigers out.
There's always this moment of suspense, the excitement before the event. Will they react to it? Will they not? Or will they actually completely destroy it? Who knows?
We'll find out later what the tigers make of it.
Winter's coming to a close here in the park and the animals are getting ready for a new season. Some of them, however, take a little longer to get ready than others, as Jean's about to find out.
I'm here at Butterfly Kingdom at the start of a new season, and there's not too many butterflies around, but not to worry because we have some new arrivals, don't we, James?
Yeah, that is correct.
What are we going to do today?
So basically, we've had an order come in of all our pupa, so we're basically just going to be sticking them on these sticks so they can emerge
You
properly.
have to talk me through these. There's some weird and wonderful colours and camouflages here. I mean, I would have just thought these were some old dried up leaves.
And that's the idea behind it. So they'll be on a lone stick, just sitting there, and no animal's going to want to eat a dead leaf.
It looks like a leaf on the outside, but what's going on the inside?
They start off as the caterpillar. They molt into this sort of shape. So this is underneath the exoskeleton of the caterpillar as it molts. So inside this at the moment, everything is changing. So their digestive system, their circulatory system, respiratory system, everything is completely different. They're basically just having a full transformation, becoming pretty much a brand new animal.
That's pretty amazing to hear what's going on there. So we're going to hang some of these up today. How are we going to do that?
Right, so we're just going to place the stick on
Okay.
here. I'll put a bit of glue just down the middle.
Basically going to stick them on?
Basically stick them on,
Right,
yeah.
okay.
So I'll pop the glue on and you're in charge
I'll
of
stick them on. So where have
placing.
these guys come from?
So these guys have come from sustainable butterfly farms in South America, and it means that these guys aren't harvested from the wild.
And can we mix species? Can I put some
Yeah,
others
yeah,
on here? Let's get this looking colourful.
You go ahead, you go ahead.
But in the wild, how would they attach themselves?
In the wild, they'll have a tiny little bit of silk. It'll stick itself to a stick or a leaf.
So the silk kind of works as an adhesive in the wild?
Yes.
So we're going to wait for this to dry, but here's one you made earlier.
Yeah.
So what do we do with this?
So we just pop them inside our pupa cupboards.
Okay.
And just let the magic happen.
In they go, and I can see we've got some beautiful butterflies already here.
Yes, so these are the blue morphos. So these are what were inside these.
Oh, that's amazing.
So that's what should happen with this little chap here. So we just leave them be, we keep the temperature correct, we keep the humidity high, and they do the rest
Well,
themselves.
you better get them in there because I'm leaving
Yeah.
this door open. So hopefully a couple of weeks' time we're going to see some beautiful butterflies
Fingers
just in
crossed.
time for the new season.
Definitely.
So exciting.
It is,
Can't
yeah.
wait.
It's one of my favourite things.
Earlier, we were with the Big Cat team as they tried where so many before them have failed to create a successful enrichment device. Tough enough for the big cats, but not just any big cats. The tigers. They're the strongest and most dangerous of all cats. And with a body length of up to 2 meters, Amur tigers are the largest subspecies. They're built for the kill, with an extended muscular body, short legs, and a long tail. But these magnificent creatures were driven almost to the point of extinction. Prized by big game hunters and poachers, by the 1940s, there were fewer than 50 remaining in the wild. Since then, conservation efforts have seen their numbers increase to over 500, but they still remain under threat. It's now time for these tigers to meet the wobble board.
So this is Sundari.
Having recently lost their sister, keepers are hoping this enrichment device will help strengthen the bond between Shari and Sundari.
So I think Shari has spotted it, but she's a little bit wary and doesn't want to go over. You can see they're looking high up. They think there's food being put in the tree. So you can see that Sundari really looking interested. You can see Shari's quite laid back. You know, she's quite inquisitive. Sundari's gone straight for the fire hose already, so they're actually going onto the board. That is typical of Sundari's nature. Anything new, and she just wants to get straight involved. Whereas you can see Shari, she's holding back. She wants to see if it's going to hurt Sundari, like if it's any danger to her. And you can see she's trying to attack the fire hose again. The instinct of I want to kill, I want to like try and kill it. I mean, you can really see how she's using her back legs just to try and pull the actual wobble board. I mean, you can imagine how much strength she has in those back legs. You can see all those muscles are working. It looks like Sundari is going to make a second attempt with the board in a minute, possibly. One of things that tigers do is they mark their territory. They've got scent glands in their necks, so they especially rub their necks across the trees as well. So this is Shari. She's feeling a little braver now that Sundari's moved out of the way, so it gives her a chance to come over. And I think she spotted there's actually, you know, there's a toy up there which she's never seen before. So, oh come on, you want to go on there? I'm happy that obviously they've seen it. You know, they came straight over. A little bit annoyed that they haven't actually gotten the idea of getting onto it first. Oh, come on, Shari. You know you want to. There goes log cam. Shari's taking it down. She's just got on there. She's got both her legs on there. And she's just gone for the ball. You can see that she's trying to keep it steady so that she can maybe try and get the rest of her body on. I don't think she's quite figured out how to do it because it looks like she's going to pull back, but she's hit the ball, so I'm really, really happy with that. And hopefully maybe next time she'll get her full body on. Putting a new thing into an enclosure, you never know how they're going to react. And it's been really nice to watch them because this is brand new. It's just them showing interest that I honestly thought they'd just ignore it. I'm really, really happy. So happy.
We'll be back later in the year to update you on the wobble board. But for now, it's safe to say that today's invention has really brought the sisters together.
Living just below the large open spaces of the African safari are the park's 3 Brazilian tapirs, Jessie, Eddie and Tallulah. Tapirs can be extremely dangerous. They have large, sharp teeth and thick, muscular bodies. But here in the park, thanks to regular contact with their keepers, our trio are very friendly.
Ah, you like that, Eddie? Oh, I can see.
And like nothing more than a good belly scratch. Today, Jean is back with them. And this time she's helping Keeper Joe with a new invention designed to test their incredible noses.
Now, Joe,
Yes.
I know you've got some food here for our tapirs, so
Yes,
what
we
should we
do.
do?
Right, so we've got the box here of lots of fruit in. We've got bananas, cabbage, carrots, which they love.
All the things they like?
Yep.
So what special things do the tapirs use to get their food?
They use their prehensile snout.
The tapir snout does remind me of an elephant's trunk, but they're not used in the same way, are they?
Not exactly, no. They mainly use their snout for foraging, looking around for food, and it's really useful in that way. And also as a snorkel, as in when they dive down into the water.
Right, so we've filled up this contraption. How are we
Yes,
going
we
to
have.
see that snout in use?
Basically, we're going to hang it up on the contraption we have here, and then they'll come in and then reach up and see if they can grab the food out of the box.
So let's do it.
Right.
So not only is this good for enrichment, we're also going to see how that snout really works in action.
Yes, we really are.
Come on, Eddie.
Go on, tapirs.
Just using his snout to sniff it out there.
How's that?
Oh, you can really see that working. Okay, Joe, so we've got all 3 of them here.
Yes, we do. So we've got Jessie, who's next to us here, and then you've got Tallulah there and Eddie at the end.
And they're quite happy to share
Yes,
their
they
food.
really,
They're not
really are.
competitive over food.
Yeah, sometimes they can be, but this obviously is all new, and so they're probably all more interested in what they're doing with the enrichment rather than each other at the minute.
So seeing them close up, I can really see how this is different from an elephant's trunk.
yes.
They're kind of getting their noses in there to
Yes,
sniff
they really are.
food out and draw it out more rather than grabbing it.
Yeah, definitely.
But what happens when it goes into the mouth? How are the teeth in there?
They're really, really sharp. They are quite dangerous normally, but these guys are quite friendly.
And I seem to remember them liking a little belly
Yeah, they
rub
really
as well
do.
while
Yeah.
they eat.
Yeah, they do.
And I'm just reminded how unusual they are because they're closely related to rhinos and
And horses.
horses.
As well. Yeah.
Yeah, they've got the
Yeah.
little horses' manes here as well.
Yeah.
You're liking that, aren't you?
They love it.
Oh, Joe, all this feeding has made me hungry. Do you think it's time for lunch?
Yes, it definitely is.
Yeah, let's leave them to it. Come
Let's
on.
show.
we've been following the progress of our 2 new cheetah cubs, the first to be born here in the park. In the wild, they face a multitude of threats, from the persecution from farmers, predation from other big cats, and susceptibility to disease. In fact, nearly 70% don't reach the age of 3 months. Sadly, the park lost 1 cheetah in the first few days. So the breeding programme now relies on Poppy and Winston. Thankfully, they are doing well. And from their first taste of meat to exploring the great outdoors, the keepers and Animal Park have been with them every step of the way.
It's been stressful every single day because, you know, it's always a worry that they might not make it past day 1, day 2, and you don't know what could happen. You have no idea what could happen.
Today, team leader Amy is anxiously getting ready for yet another milestone in the cubs' lives.
This is the first day that our cheetah cubs will be venturing out into their enclosures. They've been in the smaller paddock, so we've done quite a bit in there to gain their confidence. They, I think, will be a bit nervous. They won't be sure exactly. It's a big, wide open space instead of what they're used to.
Whilst in their enclosure, the cubs are safe, but not if they get out. Living right next door is one of the park's prides of lions. Having never had cubs before, keepers Amy and John are checking every inch of the perimeter fence. Just the smallest gap could have disastrous consequences.
Yeah, I think the fence looks fully secure, doesn't it? So I don't think we've got the risk of them getting out.
With the final checks complete, the enclosure is ready for the cubs.
I want Wilma to sort of come up towards the top of the paddock with the cubs. I don't want Wilma to go out on her own and the cubs sort of get scared and don't follow.
I'm gonna come out.
The new enclosure's around 20 times larger than what they're used to.
Oh, she's coming.
Wilma's straight out and into the enclosure.
Mum's run off.
But without her cubs. Will they find the courage to follow her?
The park is famous for its monkey drive-through, where a troop of over 100 rhesus macaques lay in wait for cars to enter their enclosure. Once inside, these persistent primates set to work pulling cars to pieces within a matter of minutes, and there's nothing anyone can do to stop them. Or is there? Jean has gone along to find out.
Since the park's been closed for a couple of months, these guys are ready to wreak havoc on the cars that come into their enclosure. So it's up to the keepers to come up with ways of getting them to put their brains to good use. Rosie, how are you going to do that?
Okay, so you can see behind us we've got a nice little boxes here. They're full of all kinds of really exciting things that the monkeys love. So we're hoping that they're going to want to play with a lot of these.
What have we got in here?
So we've got a big mix. We've got some hay, so that's some stuff for them to pull apart, to really tear to pieces, that kind of thing. And then also there's veg mainly, and then fruit as well, just to excite them even more.
So hopefully they're going to use their brains to rummage around in here, find a treat, rather than wrecking people's car, which is what we know they love to do, right?
They do love to destroy things. They've got really dexterous hands. We love to get them to use those as well. So that's why all of these have been sealed really nice and tight, so they've actually really got to work for it. And then obviously said they're really clever, so they love a challenge. So we're hoping these will be one for them.
Right, Rosie, let's put some of these boxes out. What's the plan?
Grab a box, and we're just going to head over in this direction and just pop them down nice and far from the road so they can play with them.
I notice how they've all gathered already. They're
Yeah.
so cheeky.
We'll just pop them down anywhere up here.
So as expected, Rosie, they are going mad for this food. They're loving it.
They can smell it, and also they love a new toy. It's really good.
Yeah, we're seeing some of them climbing up for the high boxes as well.
Yeah.
And when they grab the food, they sort of tend to take it off on their own.
Yeah, so they're just making sure that no one else is going to steal that from them, especially the really good bits. So they're just going to take it off and eat it before anyone can take it from them, sort of thing.
Macaques are so intelligent. I'm not surprised that they've risen to this challenge. But what other challenges have you seen them do?
Oh wow, you see all sorts when they've got the cars in here. They're so clever. They can take out parking sensors.
Really?
Yeah, all the trim from the top of the car. They've even managed once to open someone's top box. So they've been in people's clothes and things before, because they are just so intelligent. They can really use those hands, and their mind is just so good. They're good at puzzles.
I'm happy to say that we're keeping them out of trouble for a little while anyway.
Back in Cheetah country, Mum Wilma is out in the enclosure. All we need now is Poppy and Winston.
It looks like Winston's gone first. Poppy's looking back towards the house. So he's head out. Here she comes straight out, so that's great.
With the whole family in the open for the first time, they begin to explore their new surroundings.
The cubs have actually gone in two completely different directions, which is cute that they're not worried about themselves either, having that confidence of going around everywhere together. They've just completely separated. She's just stalking along in the grass, and she's just kept herself really low, and she's just sort of crawling along. I've never seen her do that behaviour before. That's really cute. They love being up high. They love to have a good view of everything that's going on. It's incredible to see them like that. Just on this mound that we've recently put in for the cubs, and it's amazing that they've gone on it and they're loving it. Oh, hollow tree time. They've just gone inside the hollow tree and climbing around. Playing in the road, that's not something we want them to do.
With thousands of cars expected in the height of summer, the cubs will need to learn the rules of the road.
If they are on there, we'll just move them off. So the more and more times they come out, we'll just get them used to the fact that they shouldn't be on the road when there's cars about. And hopefully they'll respect that. It's surprising how quick they already are. You don't really think it, they're so small, but they are so fast already. So it's going to be very nerve-wracking, I think, patrolling in here for the first time when we do have public go through, when we've got the gates opening and closing, because they are already so fast that they could just shoot off in any direction at any time. So we'll just have to plan for that and be aware of that at all times.
The cubs' first outing in the enclosure has been a total success. And we'll be back next series to see what happens when they come face to face with the visitors' cars.
Absolutely chuffed with how this has gone today. Couldn't be happier at all. The fact they've been out, they've explored nearly every part of the section and just had that confidence not to be right next to Mum, just exploring everywhere. It's a really positive thing that's happened so far, and for us to see it, it's been amazing.
When the park's not open every day, it gives everybody an opportunity to do the jobs that you can't do when there are hundreds of cars around. One of those is the annual wolf roundup, which is when the keepers try to round up the Canadian timber wolves to give them an all-important health check. You've nearly finished that already, but what do you do with an animal that can run 50 miles a day? Well, it certainly tests the keeper's stamina. Was that nice? Was it? Good.
On a bright sunny morning a couple of months ago, inside the wolf enclosure, a pack of keepers have gathered.
We're having to mobilise the whole park to come and give us a hand, because we have to form a line across their entire enclosure and then sort of herd the wolves in. But the house is not their favourite place, so yeah, they're going to play up a little bit, I think.
Keeper Caleb is in charge of organising the troops.
If you try and keep an equal distance apart, obviously the Canadian timber wolves, when they're cornered or when they're threatened or feel threatened, they become extremely dangerous. But our strength is in numbers, because they don't like people. But if you become isolated or something, then just get to your next man and just let the wolf run past, because obviously we don't want to create a situation where you're in a standoff with a wolf. But if the wolf starts coming for you, put the stick near it and it'll bite the closest thing to it. And if it bites the stick, just let go and it should run off with it.
The posse heads into the enclosure. Some of the park's vehicles will be used to help block off the gaps.
It's always quite nerve-wracking, because obviously if they start to become isolated or they feel threatened, then they become a lot more unpredictable and a lot harder to try and sort of encourage in.
The park has just 3 Canadian timber wolves, Alf, Vic and the notorious Dave. Earlier in the series, we saw how Dave has become famous for his bad behaviour.
Dave, I can see you. And don't bat your eyelids at me because you're not getting past, please. Keep going.
Seeing keepers as his subordinates well below him in the pecking order.
I don't like this, Dave. Don't want to keep doing this.
With the vehicles in position, the keepers take their places in the lineup.
Hold it, hold your line.
The plan is to usher the wolves along the fence line and into the wolf house.
This is the worst one, this is Dave.
It's vital that all the wolves are caught as they must have an annual health check.
Dave's coming back this way. David! Hold the line. Hey! If we just want to push around nice and slowly on the right-hand side, he's coming straight at us down the middle.
An early victory. Vic is first through the gate and into the paddock next to the house.
OK, thanks, Hannah.
The team push forward to encourage the other two to follow. But Dave's going the wrong way.
We've got one wolf in the paddock, and then we've got one just running around. One's broken through the line behind us, but we're just trying to sort of position them towards the fence line. We'll go back for Dave.
Caleb decides to focus on Alf for now.
He's coming round now. Alf's on his way around towards the paddock. He's figured out what we want him to do. Good boy. Is that two in the house, Hannah?
Two in the house, we've got Alf and Vic.
OK, we've got two in. Try him again round the top.
Now just Dave remains at large. Caleb sends the team back to their starting positions.
So the plan is to try and encourage him round the fence line again and then push him back towards the house.
Time for round 2.
David! He's coming up behind you, I think.
But Dave's giving them the runaround.
David! David! Dave broke through the line again. He doesn't want to go in, so we'll just have to play it another round of Safari Park versus Dave.
Could it be third time lucky? Dave showing no sign of giving up.
David!
The keepers are putting up a determined defensive line, but dastardly Dave breaks through once again.
It becomes a game. Like, this is Dave's territory. Like, he loves challenges. He loves things like this. It's exhausting chasing the wolf around. Go on, David!
Wolves are built for stamina. Caleb knows they can't outrun him, but can they outsmart him? This time he wants to try a new formation, a shorter line with smaller gaps and hopefully less chance to escape.
Success! Round 4, and we did it. So yeah, it was good. A lot of running around after all.
The last patient, Dave, is in the wolf house just in time for a checkup with Duncan the vet.
Come on then, Dave. There's a good boy. Good boy, well done.
As well as their annual inoculations, this will be one of the few times that Duncan can get close enough to carry out a health check.
Good boy.
Wolves often fight to help settle disputes, but this can often lead to minor injuries, which, if left unchecked, could lead to bigger problems.
You're all done.
The wolves are quickly released back into their enclosure.
They're really happy with that. They were really calm. They all came through. It was just nice to see them. And it's also nice that we can get them straight back outside. So it's, it's really painless, and it's not a massive negative experience because they've only been in here a matter of minutes, and then they're straight back outside. So free for another year. So it's really good.
Now we're heading out of the park. A fruit bat has a small but potentially life-threatening condition. And Keeper Shelley is taking it straight to Vet Kate. for an emergency appointment.
Hello. Hiya, all right? Hi. A little back for me. Yes, I have. Yes. Lovely. So we've got a wound on it, is that right? Yes. It looks like skin's just come off. Oh, okay. So it's like a flap on the body there.
Yeah, the skin's actually been removed, it looks like. See, all the skin has just sort of gone.
It was during a feed that Shelley first noticed the bat's injury.
You can see the swelling all the way along the bone, but he's almost got this kind of tissue fluid all the way around the bone there. So I'm wondering either he's knocked it or there might actually be something going on in the shoulder joint there that's affecting the drainage.
Yeah.
He's one of the 42 Egyptian fruit bats who hang out in the darkest corner of the park, the bat cave. These fruit bats rely almost entirely on their wings for mobility. If Kate finds a bone is fractured, she'd have no choice but to put him to sleep.
I think certainly something like X-ray wouldn't be a bad idea, so that we can actually have a really good look about what's going on, because all the way along the bone to be affected that much is quite unusual looking there.
With no obvious diagnosis, Kate arranges an X-ray for first thing tomorrow morning. Until then, he'll be kept pain-free back at the park.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
As the keepers return the bat to the park for an uncertain night, Kate the vet has concerns about what tomorrow's X-ray might reveal.
Worst case scenario is finding things like fractures, or at worst, like little bony tumours and things might be able to cause that sort of swelling. I suppose finding something that isn't then fixable might actually sort of mean a different ending for tomorrow for him.
There are thought to be around 100 million species of animal on Earth, but each year at least 10,000 go extinct. In an effort to halt this terrifying decline, parks like Longleat take part in international breeding programs designed to breed babies which could one day return to the wild. Over in Animal Adventure, keepers Graham and John are unloading a new arrival from a park in the Netherlands. It's a bird, but unlike anything you've seen before.
Hello, Tapir.
It's a secretary bird, and they've recently become endangered in the wild.
It's quite an exciting time for us. We've been allocated through the stud book a male at the moment, and he is basically the start of our breeding programme here.
Graham is what's known as the stud book keeper for secretary birds. It's his job to decide which birds mate with which, and he knows just how difficult that can be.
What's really interesting about the secretary birds is there's only about 100 individuals in captivity in the zoo community, and of that, only about 6 birds hatched out last year. So it's not the strongest of breeding programmes.
In spite of the odds, Graham and his team are doing all they can to save the species.
Obviously, we're hoping that Graham's got a female lined up, being the stud book keeper. I'd like to think that he's got a lady friend lined up for him, so hopefully it won't be too long and we'll have 2 secretary birds.
Well, that was 3 days ago, and I'm here to meet Graham. Hi, Graham.
Good morning.
I'd love to see your new arrival.
That's it, he's all settling in nicely, so we can head on in and see him if you like.
Let's go and meet him. Wow, what do we have here?
So this is a secretary bird, which is a really, really unusual type of bird of prey. It's a ground-dwelling species, so normally you see them up flying around in the skies, but this species spends most of its time in the grasslands of the sort of open savannas.
Let's go around here and have a better look. I mean, it's such an unusual bird from here. Kind of looks like a bit of a bird of prey on top of the body, and then these kind of stork flamingo legs. It's so unusual.
A little bit of an oddity, really, but those legs form a special purpose, and that's because they're predominantly eating snakes in the wild. So obviously snakes do strike and they have venom, a lot of the African ones. So being nice and tall protects him from that, stops the strike hitting his body, but also he uses it as a killing tool. So if he finds a prey item, rather than having to bend down and sort of attack it, he can just stomp and stomp and stomp until it's dead, in essence.
That explains.
And then it's a nice, easy meal for him.
Yeah, the design is really made for it.
Yeah.
And tell us more about him in the wild then. Where's he from?
So they're from sub-Saharan Africa. Their population in the wild is really fragmented, and that's because of habitat loss. So actually they're now classed as vulnerable, which is one of the reasons we really have to sort of get them in and breed them in captivity. It's really important that we have that fallback population in captivity.
You are very lucky to have one here, and breeding it might be something that you work on later.
Yeah, I mean, it's part of what we do here. It's what we're setting out to do is to really input back into conservation and make sure that we have a nice, healthy population in captivity.
I hear how enthusiastic you are. I think you two have bonded already.
Yeah, he's definitely, I think, hit me as one of my favourites this year so far. He's, yeah, a real charmer.
Congratulations, you're lucky to have him, and I know that the visitors are going to love him. Amazing looking bird.
Earlier, we saw how a bat's life was hanging in the balance after he had an injured wing. A bat without full use of its wings can't survive, so the only chance to save him is to get to the bottom of the problem.
We're X-raying to make sure that there's no problems with the bones, because that would change how we would manage the bat. It's very difficult to stabilise a broken bone, and often they don't get on very well at all, so unfortunately that would have a lot worse outcome.
Before they can X-ray the bat, they need to keep it still, and that requires a potentially life-threatening anaesthetic.
So he's just getting a bit of oxygen and anaesthetic gas at the moment. Yeah, I know, that's a bit odd, isn't it?
Small animals present a higher risk when it comes to anaesthetic. This bat weighs in at 150 grams, so the margin for error is minuscule.
There's a lot less information out there on dosing and safety, so we're having to use our knowledge from other animals. It makes the monitoring a little bit more difficult, and changes can happen a lot quicker because they're smaller, so they'll metabolise drugs a lot quicker.
With the bat under anaesthetic, it's a race against time. They need to keep it unconscious for as small amount of time as possible to avoid any complications.
We're changing his ability to look after himself and for his body functions to perform normally, so the stress is on us to maintain his body functions. X-rays!
The bat's been unconscious for 20 minutes. With the X-rays complete, they now have to try and wake it up.
He's just becoming more awake now, so we've just got him safely in the towel so that, again, he can't flap around, become distressed, or cause any further damage to himself.
With the bat awake, it's time to examine the X-rays that will determine its fate. Despite looking completely alien, its anatomy is surprisingly familiar.
This here is like the wrist, these are like the fingers. As I say, this is the forearm and the top of the arm here. So the wounds that we're looking at are over this side. You can see all the grey around each side of the bone is all the soft tissue, and it's certainly looking a bit swollen around that region. I'm making sure the bone density looks nice and even. I'm looking at the joints to make sure that the bones are fitting together nicely and they look nice and smooth. I can't see any fractures in the bone. Some cancers you are able to see on an X-ray, but that's something that I'm not worried about in this case.
With breakages and tumours ruled out, the team can breathe a sigh of relief.
I suspect most likely he's caught himself on something, and it's just caused a little bit of swelling of the soft tissues. We're hoping that we can just manage him medically, and hopefully with time his injuries will heal and he'll be back to normal.
Last series, we witnessed the arrival of twin red panda cubs. At less than a week old, the cubs were no bigger than the palm of my hand. And with the help of an infrared camera, we captured intimate moments between mother and cubs. Well, it's been 9 months since we took those shots, and today Ben is joining keeper Sam to help make a few alterations to their enclosure.
What are we going to do today then? What's the plan?
Well, I've got a little new toy for them.
Yep.
So we've got this little platform. covered in some grass and things, which is a bit different for them. So we're going to hang it up, cover it some food, and hopefully they'll come over and have a look.
And this is all about keeping their brains and bodies stimulated, is that right?
Yes, exactly. And these are actually one of our harder animals to enrich. They're very, very lazy. So we do anything we can to kind of get them a little bit more active.
OK, should we get, where are we going to put it?
So if we just maybe just hook it on here.
OK.
And I'll hook it up this side.
And what kind of characters have they got? You've already said that they're a little bit lazy.
Dad is a bit more wary. He's actually not joining us at the moment. But this one right in front of me is one of our cubs. Who is
that? Have they got names?
This is Cheetah.
Cheetah.
She is one of the boldest. So she'll probably be very interested in what we're doing.
OK.
I expect she'll be first
Are we going to
over.
put some food down as well?
Yes, so we've got a few little bits of fruit here.
Yep.
So we can cover this in a few little bits.
OK.
And hopefully...
Do they have favourite foods?
Yeah, definitely. So fruit is a real treat, which is what we've got today.
Yep, we've got a bit of pear on there, a little bit of apple.
Yeah, there's some bananas. We can smush that in and get it nice and messy.
Hello, Tika.
Hello, darling.
They are beautiful. And who have we got down here?
So this is Mum that's come straight over for a little bit of pear. They're a great little family. They get on really well. They all play together, all sleep together in a big pile as well, which is really sweet.
Obviously, you've only got a finite amount of space here. So is it about maximising what you can do here, changing the textures, changing where things are?
Yeah, definitely. It's great to provide them with different textures. This artificial grass is something they haven't seen before and something they wouldn't really come across. And this platform obviously is made to be mobile, so we can change it around every day. So it's just a little bit different, something to help stimulate them a little bit more.
Well, Sam, thank you very much. Let's leave the red pandas to the new addition to their enclosure.
Sadly, we've reached the end of our jam-packed series of animal entertainment.
We've had an absolute blast. Catching up with friends, both new.
Oh, look at them with their little Mohicans.
And old.
We'll get a treat for you, Anne.
And our cameras have got you closer than ever before.
Oh, it's been lovely to see the park spring into life for another season, hasn't it?
It hasn't been bad seeing you, Kate, as
well, softie.
We should do it again.
Well, the good news is, Ben, we are. Our cameras are going to be sticking around and we'll bring you a whole load of new stories and new shows in the summer.
We might even have some sunshine for you, Kate.
That would be lovely.
So join us for the next Animal Park.